Hello, Nick.
Hiya.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Hello.
Good, thank you. I
Nice to
didn't
see you.
give myself a slot because I didn't have any poems ready, but I've just done the last two lines of one. So.
Lovely.
Awesome. I'm
Well, I was inspired by Pixie. You know her "I Hate Everything" poem.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've done a sequel.
Nice.
So I hate everyone.
Pretty much. It's quite fun, actually. It's quite therapeutic to just be like, do you know what? That fucks me off. I'm going to write about that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it all out.
Yeah.
Um,
Annie. Who's Annie? Which Annie?
I'm not sure. Some more people. Hello. Hey, Pixie.
Hello.
Annie.
Devil.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, Mary's on a beach this time.
Oh, Desert Island again. She likes that desert island.
I do like this desert island.
I hope you have a cocktail.
Do you know what I do? I have a G&T.
Do you actually? Great.
Nice.
Oh.
Merging into the background, but if I hold it here.
Yeah.
Oh, did we have someone in? We lost someone. Kind of went.
Oh, yeah. How is everyone?
I'm good.
You're not camping, Pixie?
Just trying to work out. I'm doing this on my tablet for the first time. Normally I use a computer, so I'm just trying to work out how to get everybody's face on my screen at once.
If there might be like a little thing in the right hand corner that says gallery view.
Top right, gallery view.
Yeah, I think I have to. I'm going to go on my computer because this is complicated. I'll be back in.
Whose room's this one?
Hello.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Sore hands, banging the drum. Oh.
Is that a euphemism, or you were actually?
I didn't want to say that.
I got bored of clapping because your hands get tired quickly.
Oh right, gotcha.
So I've got a
Like a little hand drum.
yeah, a little hand drum thing.
Nice.
I'm going to miss seeing my neighbours. It's the only time, like, I didn't know anyone in the street, and now I recognise most people.
Oh.
I used one of these.
So that was the last one. Oh, Nick, wow.
Yeah, well, was it the last one? Was it the official last one?
I
Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah.
Did you see there was a brilliant video, I can't remember where it was, but it was all the men on a street. They took their bins out and they came out with like different fancy dress every bin day, and they did they had like music, and one guy was wearing like his wife's like frilly knickers and like stockings and stuff. It was great.
I saw the Blues Brothers one. That's right.
Oh, nice. So you could always start something like that, Mary, on your street.
I'll have a little look in my costume box.
Yeah.
See what I can find.
Everything in there, haven't you?
Absolutely, Nick. Absolutely.
He's just trying to join twice. Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
Yo, what's going on?
How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay? Is this what? Yeah, sweet. Sorry to intrude.
Intrude?
Well, I couldn't hear what anyone was saying. I was just like mouthing off, like walking into the middle of a conversation, isn't it? How are you all doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Ticking along.
Yeah,
Ticking along.
Nice.
So I thought I'd start with a piece inspired by Pixie. So thank you very much, lovely Pixie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I fucking hate a poorly poured pint of Guinness. It reflects badly on the pub and fucking business. I hate being the only one rolling up the toothpaste. Squeezing from the middle is such a fucking waste. I hate neighbours shouting and having screaming rows. Actors being overindulged and taking extra bows. Injustice in all its ways, wherever it may be. Getting older, losing my hair and my dodgy fucking knee. I hate the twat who drives up my road at 60 miles per hour. When the milk's turned, but you pour it on your cornflakes already realising it's sour. The draft when the other half moves in bed. or rolling over and headbutt and smacking my head. I hate the little spots on the end of my nose. Or when the cinema's full, only offering front rows. The sound of cats fighting like babies crying. I hate that we pay pointless politicians for essentially lying. I hate it when a TV show can't quit while it's ahead. Breaking Bad was good, but get over it, he's dead. I hate arguing, especially when I'm wrong. I hate Simon Cowell and how he's got performance royalties on every song. I hate forgetting headphones on a ride or a run, or being on the beach and someone sitting in my sun. I hate dark as opposed to spiced rum and the church with their nasty and sadistic nuns. I hate hitting my elbow and it being called a funny bone. Half the world's population addicted to a phone. How eager banks were to give idiots a loan and how they went about the crash refusing to atone. I hate how annoying it is to get a stone in your shoe or partying at a festival and needing the loo. I hate those that are proper loud when they chew, and I hate it when I've upset someone and they're feeling towards you. I hate feeling trapped and like stuck in a cage. I hate how so many of us are just working for a wage. I hate the way some feel it's okay to cheat, and I really fucking hate everything to do with feet. But this hate has made it easier to see that there's just as much love all around me. I've just got to look harder and not get stuck on the hate, and hopefully enjoy my life before it's too late. So thank you, Pixie. Thanks for that. Right, this one's called It Matters More. When writing about how I feel, I always think about the same deal. It comes back to making things matter more and hopefully a shared ideal. A shared ideal like a succulent meal can bring us closer so our truth can blossom with immunity. If we shy away, waiting for the next day, bothered by bullies, hatred in our insecure way, then we shrink, slink into darkness and fear of our hopelessness, but drown too quickly to know. So seize the day, paint with colours other than grey, and pursue the light that provides our key to a better way. We matter more than those walls at your door, and you seek without fear, because in doing so, you see the glory of what's in store. Freedom, truth, your heart's desire, all the words to explore so you can inquire into why. Why should I? Isn't there another guy who can show me how not to lie to myself to generate more positive mental health? Or stealth, hide without care to the world that we share and just capitulate to those that seek wealth? No, it matters more to those that see more to this world, more than an oily war on a foreign shore, but our laws fail to deliver a clear message in justice. This ideal that seems unattainable through hopelessness. Sharp truth, blunt action against a government who believes our views are uncouth. Tory boys and Labour girls, liberal cowards who lack any moral fibre to seek that truth, only words. A shattered, broken sentence that reduces our elected leaders to insults. Squabbling like children, arguing over debt and a country with nothing but differing opinion. So we rebel, fight against the hypocrisy, or do nothing and shrink into our shell. That smell offends our fragile disposition, but they mean well, don't they? The humans we elect to govern and make decisions on our behalf, whether we're northern or southern, black or white, Christian, Muslim, rich or poor, but there's a flaw, isn't there? Power. Let it not affect you. Easily said, but we know what's true is that it grew. The leaders felt it through years of self, and what we needed wasn't new. It's always been there, just championed by a group of which there are too few. So we turn a page, find a hope in life in our minds and not our dwindling wage, and escape our cage to explore and view, avoiding the ruse that we need anything but a fuse to light and burn without, in turn, without it will become a dream. The clearest, brightest scheme to follow through a torrent of confusion and stream of consciousness that breeds more questions than answers, but hopefulness. That the path you choose will be for you, and that will be enough to soar, to break free and adore the life you chose on that decision. You decided to make it matter more. Thank you very much. It's so weird, quiet clapping. This one is called Theatrically Reactionary. Theatrically Reactionary. Here goes. I know I should think before I speak. Link a thought I've had before to my current one, and not to have to warn whoever's in store of my theatrical reaction. I currently live a life of retraction, filled with sanctions in place that mean I defend or lend or argument to an initial, mostly emotional reaction. Stuck in no man's land with a bland debate sealing my fate on something which honestly, if I thought about, I couldn't give a fuck. But it's not bad luck. I continually find myself desperately defending what was once purely dogma. Why did I react? I lacked info. Was I drunk? No, not this time. You climbed in, chirped up, thought you'd heard something you didn't like, got riled up. If only you'd taken your time, aligned a thought that taught objectivity or civility, or at least some ability to listen and think and not just stink out the room with nonsense you'd be ashamed to repeat to yourself in your bedroom. Is it because you trained as an actor, John? Confession, because I don't see anyone else blaming their annoying personality traits on their profession. I bite my nails because I'm in sales. I fart in lifts because of my shifts. I pick my nose because of the career I chose. I wish I'd learn and in turn face a second to process what's said, react less and be led by educated thought rather than fraught, emotionally charged stream of shite, valued at naught, that does nothing but continue this childish reactionary plan. Take some time to refine and craft the conversational line you really want to say, not worrying about the delay in answering and mastering the reaction, not letting it lead all action. Better off now with some relaxation of my brain. Release the strain and take life in a slower, more judged and calm lane. Do yourself a favour. Savour the moment rather than going insane. There we go. That's all from me. Thank you very
John,
much.
I fucking love that. That was so good.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Yeah, just an honest, sort of fed up with my own shit. Fed up with the stuff I do that winds me
Your
up.
happier moment.
And you know what? I've actually stopped reacting as much since writing it.
Amazing.
I haven't got into anything Barney-wise. I haven't had major rows. I'm like, I watched a documentary about Lance Armstrong, who, yeah, he took all the drugs. He was a major cheat, but he was an incredible master at controlling his state of mind. So even when he had to lie through his teeth to his wife and to his kids and to these reporters, and he could control his state and say exactly what he wanted to say rather than it just being like, fuck you, man, da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, wow, that's an interesting mindset. You know, imagine being able to control your state, your emotional state at all times, to be able to really say what you want to say, like job interviews or, you know, dates and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
I'd miss it if you weren't like that, John.
After a few bevies, who knows what happens.
Yeah. So I've called it the Invisible Tiger Essay. This is about the day that we locked down the schools. Okay. Like a firing squad, a list of future losses is reeled off by desperate year sixes. The end was in sight, the long-awaited treats before the next adventure, now falling from tiny grasps. Eyes on me. Not a rare call for improvisation, but this time it will fall on open ears and open hearts. There is no place here for sugarcoating. I know what you need is my honesty, so I say, because you sacrifice these things, people will live. You are literally saving people's lives. Please remember that. Silence. It is processed. We stand socially distanced by the gate, usually the hubs of advice, but now we're being asked by the pleading eyes of your carers, and we simply just don't know. We stand and watch you all walk away, holding it together, but trying to mentally photograph these moments. We jumble into the staff room, a Victoria sponge. We slice it up and hold it tentatively, a mishmash of plates. We don't know what to do, what to say, what just happened, what is happening, what will happen. So we drink tea. Then the voice of instruction, go back to your rooms 2 hours before we lock down. Take what you need, you won't be able to get in. We are relocating for the duration. I walk back up the corridor, the air already thick with bleach, jumpers and forgotten lunchboxes sprawled in corridors, mimicking the energy of your presence that now haunts these halls. Wishing I'd never wasted nagging you to pick them up. Come back. You can leave them wherever you want. Walk across the playground filled with noise and chaos. An hour before, winged opportunists have already moved in to clear the remains. Half-flat balls, once squabbled over, lay pitifully alone in corners. Skipping ropes hang limp on fences coiled around posts. I clear tables ruthlessly. Who knows where it sits and waits for an unsuspecting touch? I throw away short pencils chewed in anger and anticipation. Pens run almost dry by our relentless need for you to write. mauled rubbers with holes from faded words, half-completed test papers, scribbled notes, stained highlighters, blunt sharpeners, dried up lidless glue sticks, little fuckers, how many fucking times? A deep breath and the pricks of tears as I immediately forgive you. The insignificance of your crime against a world whose cogs are grinding slowly to a stop. Your absence in this space suddenly sits heavy on this fierce soul, and it feels empty in here. And in this moment, I don't know when or if you'll come back to this space. Will it take you? Will it hurt you? Will you ever be mine again? Flashback to a lockdown practice of a different kind. Kids under tables as we prepare them for a shooter. Sorry, an escaped tiger from the zoo. But what will you do, Mrs. Robertson, if the tiger comes to our classroom? Well, I will fight it. Fight it? You? Yes, I will run to the door and I will fight that tiger to keep it away from you. But you have to promise me that you'll hide and cover your eyes and stay hidden until the whistle signals it's safe to come out. Eyes looking at me, trusting from their flimsy fortresses. I don't even have to ask myself. I die for them to live. But I cannot pretend to protect you from this sniper. I cannot fight the tiger at the door. I cannot promise to sacrifice myself for you. I cannot put you into bubbles, but I hope that someone does. A stickler for routine and precision, I work relentlessly until the room is spotless. Every day for the past 7 years, I have wiped the date from the board, written up tomorrow's date, and then left for the day. I stand poised. Friday, March the 20th, 2020. I wipe it away. I don't write another in its place, and I will think of its absence often. One last panoramic stare around the room. I flick the switch. I close the door. That's it.
That was really good.
Wow, Mary, that was amazing.
Thank you.
That was really intense.
I feel a bit
That was
shaky.
really- That was so.
Yeah, I was like
thank you,
right
everyone.
there with you. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Was that the first time you've read something?
Yeah.
It's amazing, man. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing it, Mary.
Yeah. Thank you. Inspiring stuff. And you'll be back in that classroom. Well, you'll be in a different classroom, won't you?
I'll be
Don't
back
lose
there
school.
on Monday.
Oh, right.
So shall I salute in now?
Yeah, lovely, Nick.
Okay, these are both seen the light of day today. Started this afternoon. So if there's any not quite right, I'll get them right next time. Just do it. That's what my brother would say. He didn't let worry or shyness get in the way. He's not a quiet, retiring type like me. I hope I don't hear anyone disagree. Where'er you go, let your wind go free. That's what we said he'd put on his grave. And not in loving memory of David John, just love Dave. When we were young, it was usually him that was in charge. And being 6 years older, that wasn't very hard. Though he'd probably think that his little brother was a pain. He only really let it show just now and again. He took me along with him on many of his trips. I remember travelling by train and by bus and even on ships. Bus and train spotting was our hobby. No, obsession. We roamed all round the country with our notebooks in our possession. And even when we meet now, many years later, you see, we still discuss the local trains or buses, my brother Dave and me. He lived in Germany for a while, but he's up in Yorkshire now. But I've not moved at all. I still live here down south. We only meet up now and again. It's a long way to go. But I stayed with him last year when my rambling friends had a do. He chatted to them as if they'd been good friends to him for years. That's the way he makes his contacts and friendships just appear. The year before, there was an event in which we both did our thing. That was the Street Choirs Festival, and we both liked to sing. My choir was Hullabaloo from Brighton. His was Colder Voices. It's odd to think that we had both made our choices. And the first time that I saw him there, it was quite amusing. We were singing our songs on the library steps, and his choir were just passing. We had to exchange a grin when we saw each other's faces, and he saw our choir leader put us through our paces. I wonder if he's writing poems like me in this lockdown. I'll have to ask him next time we speak on the phone. That's my brother. And I've done It's So Dark today, which was, I think, last week's prompt, wasn't it? It's so dark when you get away from human habitation. In the desert or at the North Pole, there's no light pollution. You might think you'd escape it up on the downs, but really you can always see the evidence of the towns. You can get real darkness on a country lane under trees at night. And have you been in a cave when they turn out the light? The darkness closes in on you so you can almost feel its touch. It's like a cloak and can be really scary. I didn't like it much. In a clear night sky, there's always the moon and stars. But near a town, all you see is the headlights of the cars. We've got so used to having streetlights to guide us on our way that we try to make night driving just like it was day. Look at the night sky and the vastness of space can let you trying to make sense of the universe. Who or what is out there? We can't be the only life that's planned. And what's this thing called dark matter? Can anyone understand? There's lots of things that are beyond our comprehension, like the dark areas of our minds, giving that a mention. In fact, the human brain can be like outer space, hard to understand for us in the human race. That's me lot.
Thanks, Nick.
Nick, your voice is so relaxing to listen to.
Oh. Oh, yes, why everyone's gone to sleep.
We haven't got to see.
That's lovely. It sounds like you have a lovely relationship with your brother.
Yeah. We're 300 miles apart, and we only speak on the phone once in a blue moon.
Oh.
It's we just come together, and it's nice, as you say.
What's the age difference, Nick? Is it 6
Lovely.
years? Is it 6 years difference between you, Nick?
6 years, yeah.
6 years,
Yep.
okay.
So yeah, when he was 13 and doing things in his young teenage years, he had this 7-year-old brother going around saying, "Hello, come on, Dave, where are you going there?"
Everything's been really light. I was actually promising myself not to apologise for the fact this is zero fun in the 2 poems I've got. So, which one's the most fun? So I can end with that one. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'll go for the really gnarly one first. Cool. Okay, this is called Love Song. And P.S. It's really not about love. So, I'm really nervous reading this one. I wrote it when I was feeling pretty screwed up. Okay, I'm crushed by the weight and the enormity of this world that's distorting me, contorting my chest like a butterfly's halted metamorphoses, cornered and caught in the cold and cordoned streets and forced into the magician's box before he sawed me in 3. I hide my heart beneath a layer of ordinary and orderly, hoarding more than I need to protect myself like a fortress from the storms as they seethe in the seas. And when I look at my face reflected in the watery skeins, I see an author staring back awkwardly that I'm sure isn't me, but he's got my stubble covering his jaws and his maudlin cheeks. We're born interweaved with lust, fortune and greed, rendered impotent jurors in these courtrooms of fiends. And they ignored all my pleas and the chorusing screams as carousels carried blind riders on white horses with wings hung above the unfaltering jaws of enormous machines. And the nights filled with drunk paupers marauding the streets, and the floors filled with their organs as storerooms with wheat. And each day a new dawn for the foreman they greet to record the inordinate portions of lives performed to the beat of clocks in glass towers tolling morning to eve. So we sit in the corners, chortle or keen, as the sickly sheened altars grow taller or warped and diseased, while the lessons they preach from the pulpits teach us naught but the war wins out peace. And if we resort to decrees written when men fought with beasts on the mountain's tallest peaks, we will all become corpses before the autumn of all we could have been. Because we should have learned to restore, not defeat, to become our own leaders, not to fall at their feet, to summon strength from inside, not steal it from the fallen and meek. And we should have learned to fall in love with the world, not just fuck it, then fall back to sleep. Because I'm crushed by the weight and the enormity of this world that's distorting me, contorting my chest like a butterfly's halted metamorphoses, and I can't breathe anymore. I can't breathe.
That was really wicked.
Thanks, man. It's hard to read. I get really nervous reading that one because it made me sad when I wrote it.
Fucking deep, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. I can't see your faces, so if you're swearing at me, if you want to make, because I'm looking at my things. So this next one, which one am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to do this one. So this is like the third, you know, I did one last week called The Ghost Behind the, not last week, when we chatted, did this last time, called The Ghost Behind the Universe, which was kind of like slightly trippy. This was like the third part to that. So it's equally kind of nonsensical, but kind of sensical. Sensical is a word. Right. Okay. Memes litter the air. Messy Vaseline lies dissolving and folding as expanding whiffs of toxicity. Endorphin, catalyst, pupil exaggerant, slipping into scent glands so the eyes don't see, but the host absorbs and swells with the wet tails and sweats out the cloud. Clawed bright lightning arcs between the vertigo descending levels of metaphor, figurative reminders of objects, blocks of reason, fuzzy with fractal edges, facets, scissor ticking along vastly interconnected networked axles, gleaming and shunting, writhing, self-referencing ripples in the mold-fine hairs of logic that shift between basic layers of interpretable perceptive truth so rapidly the blur is a cloud, forever lost to interrogation from anything but the spirit maker's golden monocles themselves. Morphing vacuum densities that deities read by the lights of galaxies, co-computing the sum of all of our personal existence. A millionth of a fraction of just my own will fit 900,000 times within the sound of a thought for a neck to be kissed. And these schools of roiling, phantom winds, bury the golden grains of anything knowable within infinite instants of any grit nuclei's birth, and within no measurable unit of time, within the same quantum moment, in fact, that just one act becomes real. It's swamped by the horizon climbing struts of so much interpretation and lost forever and whenever and can never have existed, so relegated to pitying fictions that the records of the moment itself would take the age of forever, repeated infinitely to file and return. And I mean, what the fuck is a relationship? She curses. Taking the majesty and purity of something as indefinable as a feeling and cramming it into a noun, a definition so stock standard and pre-shaped that it leaves nothing of that feeling alive, yet we collectively carry around these currencies made from the copied analogues of dead feelings, share them and exchange these instead. And I don't think it's meant to feel like it undoubtedly does. This notion of a normal relationship, so intellectual when interpreted by my reason and fumingly complex. And I think it is the most profoundly meaningful and fated thing, that passing into a holy moment of experience, the still time when our heads are pressed so close that our thoughts share each other and our hearts take logical steps hand in hand back towards the center of the maze that leads to everything. And that emotional events, in fact, lie mapped beneath and are somehow part of the fabric of time and everything real and shining, and that our consciousnesses drift and maroon on their beautiful protrusions, blown by winds we could never describe the sound of.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, amazing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm really struggling to read tonight, but cool.
You're doing
Well,
great.
how much time was that? Because I've got one really simple one.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that
Yeah,
cool?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, Maya can't make it, unfortunately, this evening.
Okay, cool. So this one's called, okay, yeah, that's cool. So this is called The City, and it's a city. I did a couple of poems about cities, so clever name. Okay, so touch the city, when its interiors occupy the space where your body was, twisted tendons of its deep lit tunnels and sick nighttime calves, sulfur lights pulsing behind scaffold eyes. Trains, bodies ice the frames of this steel picture. Rails are the silver stitches in this dark, smouldering cloak of night. Dragons worm within the walls of cables deeply, and are the cables and great relays of ancient Bakelite switches, blades of something metal flicking restless, and 100 miles above in the quiet pool of a garden's dark hum, a cat of hidden wisdoms flashes her tail, swish, swish in time. And there are tales to be told of the deep, myths in the reeds of the broken and humming quarries. And I can't explain, but I was told there are shafts of sunlight that penetrate the subterranean. So standing in the water, breathing quietly, whilst the circulating rivers make papery echoes around your feet, you may watch this penetration of bright from above the surface and see ghosts of the world hunt, blinking briefly and pale across the light, a shaft of feathery movement, one pillar of light for so many pillars of dark in the tunnels of a lost city that stretches up to touch the clouds. Cool. Thank you for letting me read.
Thank
you.
I love your flow.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Imagine if you loved me the way the trees love the leaves, standing strong, rooted and solid. A labour of love drawing water from the earth, branches stretched out far for the best chance of rebirth. I feel the chill of the breeze, and that's more like the way you love me. Imagine if you love me the way a kid loves cake, eyes wide, podgy hands pressed against the oven door, desperately watching it bake. Face smeared with cake mix, whisks licked till they're clean. I smell the burning long before I realise I missed the alarm's beep. That's more like the way you love me. Imagine if you love me the way a poet loves her pen, the way it's become her chosen weapon, her one and only friend at 3 a.m, channeling her thoughts in a way that makes sense. I noticed this pen leaking through the page and staining everything beneath, and that's more like the way you love me. Imagine if you love me the way a houseplant loves the sun, the way it grows and stretches to be close to her, each leaf fighting to be at the front. Never feeling like it's done with the warmth of her rays. I see the curtains pulled, the plant is sitting in the shade. Just sat there feeling empty. That's more like the way you love me. Imagine if you love me the way that I love you. Eyes light up the moment you walk into a room. Any moment you're gone, it's a moment too soon. I'd walk on hot coals till I felt them burn bone. Drop to my hands and knees to help you climb up to your throne. I'd spend my whole life waiting here alone. And you know it. You told me, you know you'll keep hurting me. And that's more like the way you love me. Cheers. That's the first one.
Dude, that was the one. That's amazing. That's as good as the hate one. I don't know, man. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well
Pixie,
done,
that's
Jack.
amazing.
So amazing.
And yeah, to bring the mood back up, this is one I wrote ages ago, and it's about losing your virginity. Make sure you don't just give it away. Make sure it's something beautiful that you save for the right one. Make sure you can at least say yes, even though it was uncomfortable as fuck with the pressure in my hips, the feeling of his dick, so alien, never have I experienced anything like this. But at least there were candles and rose petals. At least it wasn't round the back of a youth club among crush cans, used johnnies and stinging nettles, because that is what's really important here. You want to think about what people will hear when you tell them how you lost your virginity. Make your setting romantic. In that small gap while your folks are out, make sure there's woodland animals gathered around the window and fireflies setting the ambience. Make sure you're not too young. I hear my mum say to me, oh, I just think you should be with someone who means something, you know, the right one. Our hymen, like the red ribbon entrance to our soul, bring your scissors, boy, walk up, take a bow, you are the guest of honour. Now, if you would please do me the honours of officially opening this facility, it means I can just get on with being me. And I have to ask, was that better for you than it was for me? Hips mashing and jamming, aching deep, over quick, not a hint of pleasure in sight. And I thought I was doing it textbook right. Been dating this boy for months, candles lit, thought we were in love, and yet it still felt like shit. What was all the fuss about? I want to scream and shout. It doesn't define a fucking single thing about you. It's literally no one else's business who you let inside you, or where, or when. It doesn't matter if it's your boyfriend or just some random guy you just met. It's your body, it's your right. You choose what it was that you want to do when it comes to having sex. You don't need to protect your good name in case you do it in a way that means people won't look at you the same. Because if how you choose to have sex changes the way someone looks at you, then those are not the right people for you. Be it friends, parents, boys, girls. No one in this fucking world has a right to an opinion about when and who you fuck except you. If you're making choices that are safe and it's what you want to do, then you just crack right on. You know, there is such thing as virginity testing, where girls are routinely violated and molested just to make sure that they're still a virgin. It's absolutely sickening. Stick 2 fingers in this young girl, please, doctor, and make sure she's still worth something. And as soon as you're done, we'll take her back and we'll lock her up where she's safe. Because being safe means keeping her away from making decisions for herself in regards to her health, mind and body. It doesn't matter that she is somebody. Her body cannot be tarnished with touch or the scent of lust. God forbid that she should have his hands on her hips, his mouth on her lips, sensation in her clit. No. The thought of this is absolutely mortifying to us. She needs to stay clean and pure. We need to know that she's never been touched before until it's that right, perfect one. What the fuck is the right one supposed to mean? Right for what? Excuse me, mate, can you show me that you've got some sort of diploma or degree in what it means to be the right one, to take someone's virginity? And when you've taken it, where will it go? How will you store it? Is it something that you'll keep? Someone can only take your virginity if it's non-consensual. You can only lose your virginity if you weren't ready to have sex yet. It's not like a rock that you've kept as a pet that you've misplaced and you can't remember where you left it. The right one could be 1,000 different people depending on the day and situation. Making it special is something that exists in old-fashioned imaginations, because the bottom line is you probably won't enjoy it. It's gonna be shit. And that's okay. Because really, it's just the gateway into all the potentially magical, beautiful and exciting situations you will face once that overly hyped, highly pressured first time is out the way. Can we please remove the pressure? Stop making these young people think that they need to love each other forever if they plan on having sex. Stop making them feel guilty for already thinking about who they want to fuck next. Stop adding so much shame to sex and replace it with respect. Educate young people so that their choices are empowered. Stop using terminology like popping cherries and deflowered. Let's take pressure off of boys to be stallions and studs, and let's stop referring to adventurous girls as skanks or whores or sluts. Let's all mind our own business and learn to keep our mouths shut when it comes to other people's sexuality. What I'm trying to say is, you know what's right for you. Don't let anyone make the choice for you. Don't feel like if you do it wrong or you do it too soon that you'll be devalued. Make the choices for your body that are purely based on you. And most importantly, don't get caught up thinking that virginity is something big you have to lose. Cheers.
I fucking love you, girl.
What were your woodland animals, Pixie? Were they mangy foxes outside your window?
They're like deers and bluebirds and beautiful, man. Snow White scene we're talking here.
Mine was a dog that definitely had a missing eye and a slightly fucked up paw. That is so good. That is so good, man.
Yeah, some really cool points. I loved it.
It came off the back of a conversation with my eldest daughter, actually, because she's a teenager, and we were talking about girls at school and how, you know, when a teenage girl's lost their virginity and other people find out about it, suddenly, like, they're kind of, like, you know, people see you as being less. And I was just like, no, I'm not having this. This is it. So Yeah, she's inspired quite a lot of my poems, actually.
Yeah, I think we have lost a couple of people.
Okay.
Not
Shall
sure.
I crack on? Is everyone fed and watered and whatnot? So kind of similar ilk to you, Peter. I'll hopefully end on a more positive note. But the prompt made me think of, something that I had written before. So I went back and tried to do a little edit. Where is my scroll down? Sorry, I'm trying to like minimize and I'm not very good at computers. Okay, so it's called In the Dark. When the sole creature residing in your mind is the demonizing ring of your own catastrophizing, I find it gets lonely up there in the dark. When the nights draw in and steal the daylight from your skin, bed becomes a refuge you find hard to refuse, comforting blurred lines between nighttime and the waking nightmares of memories. It gets lonely in there, in the dark. Pushed out to the peripheries, faces fade and the lives they lead become a mystery. Your invite to home sweet home life got lost in the post too easily, or so you want to believe. It gets lonely out here in the dark. Each day you hold a compass as clouded as your mind, unable to find north, unable to find the truth, like skiing in a whiteout, unsure which way to turn to fight out. Right now it's getting cold in here in the dark. The pitter-patter of destructive chatter takes a stroll through the corridors of my mind. It finds the weakest doors and kicks them open. Soon every thought is hopeless. And through those hallways, it is lonely along there in the dark. It takes a stranger to indicate your ability to tolerate hurt and unkindness, like a knight faces the joust rather than out people for the way they behave. For making you feel small with the things they say, you just take it. And each time you do, another candle wick flickers in your soul and snuffs out, but you are numb to how dim it's become, just wondering why you feel alone in here, in the dark. You run a bubble bath when the troubles become too hard to bear. They break out the size of the fortress you've built, so you hide in the bath with your hands at the hilt of the only weapon you have left today. The warm caress of water, like hands. But these hands will leave only when asked to. A silky cocoon from which a beautiful metamorphosis will emerge, but until then they will hold you and dissolve the salt of your tears before you can whisper, "It's our secret. Will you keep it?" And there is no reply. And you are still alone, but you feel safe in there, in the dark.
That was beautiful, Taz.
Thanks.
Taz, I'll never forget hearing you do that on stage, and it just like stayed with me for weeks after hearing that poem. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
That was incredible.
Thank you very much, guys. It's I love everyone. You're bloody lovely. I don't know what else to read. I've got just like some bits of notes in my phone. Really, I'm finding it a bit hard to write at the moment. I'm finding I just don't have time to stop and get into that creative space. But here's something I wrote just on the train looking at the sea the other day on my way to work. It's really short. Summer's sinews sing in a silent section of my heart. Strings pulling me back, it rings, bring me back in. Bathe your skin in these saline arms, cradled from harm, from the rush of the day, from the thoughts within, swim them away.
That's lovely, man.
There's a really nice bit, like round Bexhill on the train, where you just see like the beach huts and the sea, and and then I've just got one more. So it's a bit of a theme here. I went for a walk and was looking at the sea, and I was thinking of two of my friends in particular. One of them was my friend from London that tuned in last time, and they were talking about kind of what they find hard about everything. So I thought I'd write them a little poem, try and cheer them up. I went for a walk to clear my head, listened to the waves, and this they said, hold on to your raft. For this too will pass, subside like the turning of the tide, but it requires you to keep your grip tight, like a hitch knot that moors a ship secure to land. You can weather this. You harbour all the materials inside, even on the darker days. When you feel you've capsized and been left adrift again, just listen to the waves.
Right. So yeah. First one up. Hold on, let me make it so that I can see at least some of you while I'm doing these. Wasn't deliberately following on from Pixie's and John's this week's, but I've got an I hate one as well, strangely enough. This was written as part of that poetry week thing where I was doing a poem a day. You know, they had a thing. This one was write a poem against something, and I've got a variety of sleeping conditions. So this was against sleep disorders. I hate the sound of singing birds when I can't fall asleep. I hate it when I'm dreaming and that darned alarm goes beep. I hate the dull and tiredness that seems to last all day. I hate it when the day ends but alertness wants to play. I hate nocturnal epilepsy and the pills I take. I hate the whirring CPAP watching every breath I make. I hate the fact that thoughts keep racing round and round my head. I hate it when I get up and I can't go back to bed. That was against sleep disorders. This was another one from that same challenge. This one I had to take somebody else's words and intersperse my own words to create a poem out of them, basically. So I picked an extract from the Diary of Anne Frank and sort of made it into a sort of metric rhyming poem, basically. So this is February the 3rd, 1944. I've reached the point where you can see the horrors through my eye, and now I hardly seem to care whether I live or die. The world will keep on turning, and without me life goes on, and I can't see what I could do to right this evil wrong. But if there's anything that I could do to change events, I'd fear the outcome anyway would make more malcontents. I'll just let matters take their course and take things as they come. I'll concentrate on studying and try to not feel numb. I hope that everything will be all right, and so I wait, as in the end the war will end and then I'll know my fate. That was right. This is one of the ones that I wrote years ago and then rewrote in 2018. It's one of my sort of adventure-y sort of fantasy poems. This is The First Fight, the 2018 version. When a new day had dawned, sending night to remission, the armies of goodness continued our mission. In an uncertain silence, our heartbeats were booming. Where the canopy broke, the black mountains were looming. Through the forest of doom to the foothills of starkness, we were marching to war with the minions of darkness. At the rain plains of pain, the great battle renewed. Like a cocktail of chaos, a bartender brewed. So I lifted my sword and I parried each blow, and I slashed and I sliced and I danced with the show. Facing anything evil that stood in my way, I was slaughter incarnate and down they would lay. We faced trolls, orcs and goblins and things much more frightening. Magicians fought dragons with fire and lightning. So we fought and we fought and we bled and we died, since we knew that salvation would fight on our side. But the enemy's numbers continued to swell, so our powers were partnered for one final spell. Then the earth started shaking, the sky turned to black, and our blistering firewalls pushed evil back. As the flames consumed evil, the enemy fled. They were burning in terror, burning and dead. With the first battle over, the war had begun, but we knew in our hearts there was much worse to come. That was The First Fight.
Ollie, that created such a picture in my mind as you were reading that then.
I agree, definitely. That was
I like
insane.
writing. I like writing story poems.
Ollie, do you identify as orc?
Not particularly. That's a strange question.
No, man. I've got friends who remind me of you remind me a lot of them, and they're like, whenever they play Warhammer Fantasy Battle stuff, they like play orcs.
I've never played Warhammer or Warcraft or any of that.
When you get over your cool phase, man, you can get into it.
Oh no! See, the reason why I never played it is because it basically I'm a developer of an old school web browser game that has been going since I joined the development team. Now I'm the developer. Been going since before the millennium, and so those games basically were what killed off our game essentially because graphics and walking around, and ours is like a interactive web form basically. Where you click submit and you get stuff out. But I keep meaning to recode it, but never have the time.
What's the name of it?
It's currently not online, but it's called Canon. It's been known as Canon, Monarchy, Evernight Games. It's had several names over the years. I'll link you to it later.
Cool.
If you're interested.
Yeah, mate.
So there we go. I've got a couple more. These again, old ones. This is a poem written at uni. Where's home? As I sit here alone, gazing into the distance, reflecting on what the future will bring, missing those friends who I grew up with, just waiting for news of anything. Is the life that I once had a memory of the past, or is the life that I now live the same one, only masked? If home is where the heart is, my soul has flown away, or is home where you lay your head and wish the fears away? So a couple more short ones. Here we go. This is a non-rhyming poem, a very old poem from experimental days. It's, I think it was probably written at school when we were covering World War I or something like that. It's Death at War. The whistle blew. Thousands of men all around me clambered up over the top. A hurricane of bullets whistled through the air. I ran. Men dropped at my side. Satin red blood marked my cheek, and then a sharp pain ran through my chest. Writhing in agony, I fell to my knees. Gradually, darkness overcame me. Upwards I floated, high above the battlefield, high above the bodies. For the first time in my life, I felt at one, and then it went black. That was Death at War. And then another one of my really, really old ones, The Listener. In every group of friends, you'll find a listener with an open mind, who's always there to lend an ear, to help with your problems, your worries, your fears. But who helps the listener when his world turns bad? The burdens of listener driving him mad, with no one to love him, for that breaks the oath. Listener or lover, he cannot be both. A shoulder to cry on is hard work to be. Listen to listener, let him be free. And there you go, that's...
Ollie, I loved that. I related to that so much.
Definitely.
I think a lot of people relate to that one.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
I've no idea what to do in future ones, because basically you've got old school sappy love poems that have basically left now. I've gone through my back collection of sort of spoken wordable poetry. I'm going to have to start writing some more stuff. Oh, Viv's appeared while I was... Hello, Viv.
Nice to see you all.
You arrived just in time for the end.
Hi, babe.
Just in time to read yours, Viv.
Yeah. What have you got?
My name is Viv. I am a div. And I like to live. Thank you very much. I'm here all night.
Ollie, how far did you get with the was it every poem every day in April?
Hold on, let me dig out the photo. I missed the first day, so I started on day 2. I kept the prompt for day 1, so I was going to go back, but I never did. Hold on, let me find it. I mean, I think I've read all of them except for one, but one of them, without having read my long poem, the story poem, it doesn't make context because I decided to write a verse for like the second book.
Did you do every day other than the 1st of April?
No. I did. I'm just trying to find the document. Here we go. I did 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then realised that it had basically taken over my life and I didn't do anything else.
You had no clean pants. The washing up was everywhere.
Like work was starting to suffer. It's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be doing like commission sculpting for people, but I'm not just sat here writing poems all day. And yeah, so I stopped. But yeah, I mean the
good effort though. Still, that's a week. Yeah.
So let's have a look. So there was Sorry, that one that I did last time, the poetry poem. Against Sleep Disorders that I did tonight, the coupling, the Anne Frank one that I did tonight, the Daddy Dropped Me on My Head one and, from last time, and then there's basically an extract from George's Journey Volume 2, which I haven't even got Volume 1 published yet. But, yeah, there's little point in reading that one because it's requires the it's like starting with a sequel,
Okay.
Not okay.
And yeah, so yeah, and the big poem is way too long to read. It takes like half an hour, 40 minutes.
Wow.
It's like over 3,000 words of iambic tetrameter, basically. It's like a year's worth of, well, probably more. Add it up. It's still going through. I still need to do multiple more edits of it. But one day it will be published if I can find an agent to sell it to a publisher.
Does anyone want to?
I've got. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I found a bunch of poems on my hard drive when I was looking at that one. Can I read a short one that I've not read for ages? It's been popping into my head for. It's like really different. It's one of the first poems I wrote properly. I can't speak. I wonder if I can read anything. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this actually, this is just about the feeling of being young, which I know all too well, being that I'm super young. Okay. I've not read it, I don't think, ever. So, an unplaceable feeling at first. It's warm and tight there behind the eyes, and it reaches down, furred and urgent, seeking connection. And it's orange and brown caramels and syrup, but layered and ridged like a pine cone. My throat touches the shape, and it's the shape of Sunday evenings I taste when winter molests the summer's air and chills the fences, and my home became a place of safety and warmth. And the world seems so transparent and thin now and beautiful, but only as dense as the rain. So to catch this feeling, heavy and opulent, filled with fever for love and urgentness, trapped under the weight of my infant thoughts from my mum and the hissing gas fire, with its false coals and a TV that would draw me in warmly and leave me needing another Sunday to turn, the green days of the week to flitter, a lost essay in the wind and puddles to rotate towards the gloaming touch of Sunday's feelings of a real purpose, solid and warm. But with arms to carry me from the cold car to fall asleep under fresh sheets and smell my mum on the washing's perfume and know with certainty that the days were infinite and longer than I can ever imagine now. And the lights were orange and in the corner and the bookshelves bled life and everything seemed gigantic out in the world. Thanks. I just wanted to read that because it reminded me of Pixie's thing, that beautiful thing you wrote about your mum, and I thought it was so good.
My mum popped in earlier for a little while. It was Jan Achterhoff. She popped in just as I was reading the line in the virginity poem about my mum's advice. I was like, there she is.
Hey, Mum. Oh, that was lovely. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks for letting me read it.
It's a great word.
I like the bit about being carried in from the car. I used to love that. I used to just pretend I was still asleep and be like, oh yes, free ride in.
Up to the age of 21.
Yeah.
It's such an amazing feeling, man, when you don't have to give it. Yeah.
I
You
do
just don't give-
remember it. I remember being carried in. Yeah, it must have been really small.
We had a VW Beetle, so it was super noisy. I don't know how we fell asleep in the back of it. But it was...
Vibrated off to sleep.
Exactly.
Does anyone have anything else they want to read?
Not today. I've only written one today.
Well, that's more than me.
Does anyone else really struggle writing with the prompts? I really struggle with the prompts.
Yeah,
I said about one just absolutely flowed out. As soon as I looked at the prompt, I'd virtually written it.
That's great.
No, others have been struggle.
I had 3 cracks at It's So Dark, and then I was just like, oh, fuck this. I'm giving up. This is a mission.
What's your prompts this week,
An
Pixie?
awful lot of crossing out.
This week's prompt is atmosphere.
Atmosphere. Okay, and you've cursed me with having to pick next week's one. Nice
Sorry
one.
about it. I'm trying to write more child-friendly poems because obviously I use a lot of profanity in my poems and also subject matter that children can't really listen to. But with my with the first one that I read tonight, the Imagine If You Love Me one, a friend of mine emailed me on Facebook and was like, oh, I showed my daughter your poem. She's like 9, I think. And you've inspired her to write her own poem.
Wow.
And sent me this really beautiful message saying thanks for inspiring her. And then she sent me a video of her daughter reading the poem. And I was like really touched by it. And I was saying to Ashley, which is the little girl, I sent her a video message back just saying, you've inspired me actually, like, because I don't really write many poems that children can enjoy. So you've inspired me to try and make more effort to do that. And I said to her that, like, if we do a Rise and Rhyme event outside at the Italian Gardens, maybe she could come down and do some of her poetry with us.
That would be amazing.
She was saying she thinks she'd be a bit too nervous, but yeah, you never know. Maybe she might change her mind at some point. Yeah. So that's like me trying to get out of my comfort zone. This at the moment is I'm trying to write more child friendly or young viewer friendly poems.
That's really awesome.
Are you enjoying having to think differently?
No, it's a real bitch.
Okay.
Really struggling with it.
Has anyone read The Old Man and the Sea, that Ernest Hemingway book?
No.
It's about an old man, and guess what?
In the sea.
I've read a bit of Hemingway years and years ago.
So I was reading, cheesily reading some Charles. No, it's not cheesily. I was enjoying some Charles Bukowski, and he referenced Ernest Hemingway, and I had a look because he was mentioned maybe by a comedian, and he writes like, so The Old Man and the Sea is just about a dude chasing is it a marlin? It's a really big fish. Like, and so I was writing the kind of the Ghost Behind the Universe poems that are really slightly wordy, and then I read this and like, it's so. There's no, what would you call it? There's no extra added description in the way that he writes. So he says things like, the sea was blue and the sun was hot. I stepped on the raft and the water was cold as I stooped to drink. And like, that's all he says. And I was reading it, it's like, that's fucking amazing because it's just saying what it's saying without anything else. Anyway, when you were talking, Pixie, about writing for kids, I wonder if it will be a really nice way of having to just say what you mean without any of the inflection, without any of your personality, without any of your sweary personality.
I read A Farewell to Arms by
I've seen. Yeah.
And I just found like he's drunk a lot of the time, isn't he? Like it really shows.
read it. I've not read anything else. I started reading that and I didn't get into it, but Old Man and the Sea is about like 40 pages and it's really beautiful. Just about.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, me too.
Right, guys. Thank you very much for this evening. It's been awesome. I'm going to shoot off now.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Matthew.
See you later.
Bye.
I missed all the country reading as well.
It was recorded, Viv, so we can watch it back. I don't know where the recording will end up, but I'm sure Taz can.
I have no idea either, but I will figure it out. Every day's a school day.
Cool. Sorry I missed it, but nice to see your lovely faces.
And yours. Are you okay? You all good?
And I might write one Monday.
You might what?
I might
Write
write
one.
Monday.
Yeah.
I do.
Dude.
It's weird, isn't it? I've written lots of songs, and those don't scare me. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's always been John did spoken word and I did music, and that's because he did that, I did that, you know. So maybe.
But surely, song is a poem. It's just sang. If you were to say the poem, if you were to read the song, it would be a poem.
Yeah. True. There's little bars in a song, Ollie. You can fill a line.
Yeah.
I will see you all soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Nice to see you, babe.
Bye.